Successful photographers all have one thing in common. Can you guess what it is? It is not talent. It is not work ethic. Now, when I'm talking about successful photographers, I am talking about the photographers that are successful in business. They are full-time photographers. They are able to support themselves and their families and make a very comfortable living year after year. They didn't have one good year. They have been successful over a very, very long period of time in their business. Now, the most successful photographers are not necessarily the best photographers, the most artistic, the most creative, and they're not just the ones that work the hardest and work the most and work the longest hours. Okay, have you guessed it yet? The number one thing that all photographers have in common when they are very successful in their business is adaptability, okay? And why is this important? Adaptability is what creates the ability to change over the years as different things are working. Now, think about, let's say, 20 years ago. The photography world was a very, very different place, okay? It's 2025, 20 years ago would have been 2005. So, were people even advertising on Instagram back then? I don't even know when Instagram started, but, in any type of business, maybe it was 40 years ago, the place to advertise was the yellow pages. And if businesses are not adapting from those times, they're not going to be able to continue being successful in the future. And so as photographers, we need to be able to adapt as new technologies come out, as the world changes, as our clients are wanting different things. If I was charging the same amount that I charged 10 years ago, one, the cost of living has increased so much. Two, people's incomes have risen, right? And so they're able to afford more than they were 10 years ago. We've got inflation. So over the last 10 years of my business models have changed as what clients have wanted has changed, and my pricing has changed as my personal needs have changed, my personal income needs have changed. And so when you are so I've seen a lot of photographers in the Facebook groups recently complaining that, it's a really hard year economically. 2025 is such a weird year and I'm not making any money and blah, 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 blah. Nobody's booking. Photography world's dying, doom and gloom. And the truth is, I see posts like this every year, but I will say there are more in 2025 than there have been in past years of photographers claiming that, the photography industry is dying, people don't have extra spending money because of the economy, and their business is doing worse than ever. But at the same time, there's other photographers like myself who are having their best year ever. And it's not just me. I know lots of other photographers who are also having their best year ever. And do you know why? It's because of their ability to adapt when things change, when the economy changes, when client needs change, when client preferences and desires change. So one example is, maybe 20 years ago, clients valued prints higher than they do now. Now clients really value digital copies of photos. And I'm not telling you can't be an IPS photographer, because people still do really value prints. I love having my own family photos hung in my home. But I'm just trying to point out that things that people want and desire will change as the world changes. So, I know, again, going back to like 10 years ago, 20 years ago, people really just loved those looking and smiling at the camera photos when they were taking their family photos. I remember, if you grew up like in a church, do you remember those like church directory photos? Everybody's got a family church directory photo from when they were growing up that is like so specific of, maybe the dad sitting in the chair, the mom's standing right behind the dad and they're holding the kids. They've got a purple backdrop and everyone's looking and smiling at the camera. And that's not what people want today. There are some people who still really value those looking and smiling at the camera photos. They love to blow those up and hang them in their homes. But I think a big preference today for most families is those sweet, candid moments that are authentic and really feel like this is the love our family shares, not just like we're all perfectly still and behaved. And I'm not trying to knock that style. That is a style, but I do think there's a growing trend towards people really valuing those authentic photos. And so one thing I want to ask you is, how are you changing your business as things change in the world? You know, I think a lot of people, when they first come into the photography industry, they are kind of like the new up and comers. They're doing really well, sometimes even better than the photographers who have been in the industry a long time, because they are up with like the new technology. Like they are advertising on TikTok, on all the places where the clients are looking these days, versus sometimes when people have been in the industry a long time, they don't want to change. You know, like I'm advertising on Instagram. That's the place I've always found clients, and I'm not going to change from that. Well, Instagram's probably going to die one day. I'm not saying it's dying right now, but it's probably going to die one day. And if you don't adapt to where people are searching for their photographers now, then your business is going to die with it. And so we always have to keep changing, like, okay, where are we marketing? Where are people looking these days for their photographer? What are people looking for in their packages? How should we be pricing in a way to attract our ideal clients? And again, we should always be changing our ideal clients as our business grows and change, and as people grow and change. Like, you know, like as a society, people just aren't the same as they were 10 years ago. We all grow and change and adapt. Okay. And so one thing I want to point out to you is, if you're struggling in your business this year, think about in what areas might you be stuck in the past that just are not serving you well in the current times and going into the future. Maybe it's where you're advertising. Maybe, you know, you're still just advertising in the Facebook groups, and you haven't started, you know, looking into like, okay, how can clients find me on ChatGPT? Like that's something I've started looking into recently, because like my business really depends on SEO. I am #1 ranked on Google for my area, and that has really driven my business to be super successful in the past few years. And so something I need to be thinking about for the future is, how can I make sure, I think they call it AIO nowadays, artificial intelligence optimization instead of search engine optimization. So I've just noticed in the past year, people have stopped using Google as much as they use ChatGPT to find things. And it is better in some ways. Like you can go into Google and search like, you know, Greenville family photographer, but you could go into ChatGPT and tell it literally like, I am looking for a light and airy photographer who does candid photography and is in this price range, and it's going to give you someone who, like, it's going to give you 3 options usually that are a lot more tailored to exactly what you're looking for than you would find on Google. And so how can I structure my website in a way where people are going to find me on ChatGPT versus just finding me on Google? And I actually have had a lot of clients tell me that they found me on ChatGPT now, which is super awesome. But if I wasn't adapting my business to try to be found on ChatGPT, eventually, you know, Google might die as well. And if I'm only advertising my business there and not adapting for the future, then my business would die with it. Okay. And then another thing I want to point out to you is your pricing and packages might need to change. So I remember like when I first switched over from wedding photography to family photography, I didn't want to change the way my packages were structured. I wanted to just structure all my family sessions the way I had structured engagement sessions back when I was a wedding photographer. So I just wanted to do like one price, and it includes all the photos, and that's it. Like, this is my price, my one price. It includes all the photos. That's it. I kept not getting booked. Like, I really struggled to get booked that first year when I switched over from wedding photography to family photography. Part of it was I moved cities as well. But there were other things, like I was just struggling with, like, how do I market in my new city? How do I market in my new niche? And I just found that like I was not offering what people wanted. Like in the wedding photography world, it made more sense, but in the family photography world, I just kept getting people tell me like, but I don't want a full session. Like my kids aren't gonna last an hour. I don't want all the photos. Like, don't you have a cheaper option for if I don't want this full session? And it sometimes wasn't even about the money. It wasn't that they couldn't afford my session price. It was just that they felt like they were paying for something that they weren't going to use. And so I switched over my entire package structure. And the thing is, like, I didn't change the amount of money that they were paying. I was offering them less, but it wasn't as good of a deal for them, and it was a better deal for me, but people loved it because I was giving them exactly what they wanted. And so now I have a 3 package structure where I have I know this is going to sound weird because a lot of photographers don't do this, but I have a standalone mini session. So they're not back-to-back minis. It's just you can book a mini session just for you, whatever date and location you want, but I make it a price that's worth it for me. It's a lot more expensive than my back-to-back minis. And then I have a middle package, which is my full session. It only includes 20 photos, and then you can pay to upgrade to the full gallery. My standalone minis only include 5 photos. And then I've got my full sessions, which include all the photos and photo and video. So that way, you know, people can't be upset that they chose a package that didn't include all the photos. So no one's ever upset that they only got 20 photos because they chose that package, right? Like they could choose a package that included all the photos if they wanted. And once I changed to a package structure that my clients were really looking for, that is another thing that kind of made my business explode. Like clients were finally like, yes, this fits my exact needs. Regardless of the cost. It was kind of like, it didn't matter what the cost was. It mattered that my packages weren't structured to fit what my ideal clients were looking for. But price is another thing to keep in mind as well. So another thing that I found is I was stuck in like kind of a dead zone where I wasn't expensive enough for the people who wanted to pay a lot of money for the best, and I wasn't cheap enough for the people who were looking for a cheap photographer. So kind of sometimes you kind of get stuck in a dead zone, and you've got to adapt your prices to what your ideal client is looking for. So I do have a free resource for you that is going to help you with this, my ideal client workbook. If you haven't updated your ideal client in a while, that is going to be super helpful for you as you're figuring out how to structure your pricing and packages in order to attract your ideal client, and just figuring out in general, like, what is your ideal client looking for. And then also I have a brand new resource for you. If you are watching this, the week that this comes out is actually on sale for only $27, and it is my new pricing coach, 24/7 pricing coach. And you can take that ideal client workbook and put your ideal client into my pricing coach, and it is going to give you exact numbers for what you should charge based on your location, your business, your income requirement, your cost of doing business. It's going to help you figure out your cost of doing business. It's going to help you figure out how to structure your packages to attract your ideal client. Like I was just talking about, like how can we adapt these so that they are more appealing to your ideal client? And it is going to help you with overcoming price objections and basically figuring out like how can I talk about my prices and my packages in a way where people want to book me and see the value in what I'm offering. So on sale, first week only, it is going to be $27. After that, it's going to be $37. And this is an AI pricing coach. I have trained it with all of the exact information that has helped me build and grow my business over the past 10 years, and how to structure my prices and packages in a way where I'm very desirable to my ideal clients, like irresistible, because it's exactly what they're looking for. And also to structure my business in a way that I am bringing in a 6-figure income and can provide for my family and serve my family well and serve my clients well. So I am super excited about this. I just keep getting asked about pricing over and over and over. And So I'm so excited to design, I was so excited to design this AI pricing coach in order to help people at a super low price point with, again, figuring out their prices, structuring their packages, overcoming price objections, and figuring out their cost of doing business. And I've already had so many photographers jump into this, even just the first week that it's been available. And like people have just been like sending me so many messages thanking me because it's been so helpful for them in figuring out even like how to talk about their prices on their website so that they are making sure like not to scare people away with their prices. And anyway, so I've just been blown away with like how helpful this has been for people and how people have been using it. So I think that if you are someone who is struggling to adapt to the changing times, to your changing ideal client, to just like how your business has grown and shifted since you have, opened your business, however long that's been, whether you're a new photographer, whether you're a very seasoned, experienced photographer, I think this new AI pricing coach is really going to help you with figuring all of those things out and how to adapt everything in order to attract your ideal client and bring in more income for your business. So I hope this was helpful for you. Let me know what you think about when it comes to adaptability and long-term success for photography, or if you have any questions about anything I talked about, or just anything in general. I am a family and newborn photographer and a family and newborn photography educator. So if you have any questions about just the logistics of family and newborn photography, or just about like running a business and making sure you're bringing in a good income, I would be so happy to address any of those things for you. When people leave me comments on my videos, I love to just create a whole video on whatever topics they're interested in. So I love to create free content for you here on YouTube, and I can't wait to see you in the next video.